Welcome to the Tree Identification Terms webcast. Today we're going to focus on learning target 1. Use leaf type, arrangement, margin, and woody twig structures to identify trees. Today we're really going to focus on leaves, and next webcast we'll focus on woody twigs. So here's our focus today. First question we have to ask here is why identify trees? Well, trees are important to identify because we want to know, if we're forest managers, what types of trees are in our particular forest, and if those are the trees that we want to have. If we have certain species that are unwanted or certain species that we want more of, we may have to make a management plan to figure out what type of, to help better our forest. Also, if you were just going to plant a tree out in your yard, it would be good to know some information about those trees before you went ahead and planted them. So you may want to identify those and talk to somebody at the nursery to help figure out what type of tree is best for you. Quick term here is dendrology. Now, dendrology is simply the study of trees. It's just a scientific word here to describe any study of trees, including, as you can see here, taxonomy, identification, silvical characteristics, ranges, morphology, ecology. Anything we want to know about trees can fall under this category of dendrology. A couple of vocabulary terms that are important. Taxonomy, we know this one. It's the study of classification of living things. Morphology is the study of shape, general appearance, or form of an organism. Silviculture is one we may use later on when we discuss forest management. It is the care and cultivation of forest trees. And ecology is the study of the relationships between living and non-living things in their environment. So we're going to use morphology to help identify trees, and hopefully that will help us understand a little bit more about some forest ecology. So what's a tree in the first place? There's a couple of things that make a tree, and most of these are pretty general knowledge, but a tree is going to stand 4.5 meters or higher, so at least 15 feet, has a single woody stem, as we know as the trunk. It's capable of diameter growth, and it's a perennial plant. On the other hand, we can compare this and say, what makes a shrub a shrub? Shrubs are shorter, under 15 feet or under 4.5 meters. They're multi-stemmed, so if we were to look at a shrub here, we may see various stems coming out of the ground here, and then the foliage would be around here. So those are two different things compared to trees, and then these are the same, capable of diameter growth and a perennial plant. So there are some similarities and differences between trees and shrubs. So tree identification by observing leaves. This is one of the basic ways to do this, and it's fairly easy once you learn the terminology and you are familiar with the use of a dichotomous key. As you can see, there's a variety of different types of leaves out there, and there's a lot of diversity within tree species, so we can definitely use the morphology of those trees to figure out what kind of tree they are. We're going to focus today on deciduous trees. So deciduous trees have broad flat leaves. They lose their leaves each year in the fall. They're angiosperms, which means they're flowering plants, so most of them will flower in the spring. And a couple of examples down here that we can find on campus are oak trees, maple trees, and I know there's a bunch of ash trees out there as well. We're going to focus on a couple of things here for leaf identification. The keys will look at leaf arrangement, leaf type, and leaf margin. Leaf texture and shape we'll briefly discuss, but these three, arrangement, type, and margin, are going to be the most important for you to know. So number one thing, leaf arrangement. Now, leaf arrangement is in three different ways. There's alternate, opposite, and world. And what this is actually asking are how many, put it down here, how many leaves per node? And a node is simply the location where leaves attach to the branch. Okay? So alternate leaves have one leaf per node. Opposite leaves, you can see they're opposite of one another, so they have two per node. And whorled leaves, they actually have three or more. Let's put a little plus sign there to represent more per node. So they kind of whirl or wrap themselves around the tree. And we have examples of all three of these types right here on campus. Those are the three leaf arrangements. So whenever you hear the word arrangement, automatically you need to think alternate opposite world. Right away, leaf arrangement, alternate opposite world. Next thing, major category here is leaf type, and leaf types can be broken down into simple leaves and compound leaves. So the difference here is that simple leaves have only one blade. They're joined to the stalk, to the woody stem, and the examples here, maple, oak, aspen, beech. And in comparison, compound leaves have several leaflets, and the leaflets are joined to a midrib that is not directly attached. The leaves are not directly attached to the woody stem. They're actually attached to the midrib, and the midrib is attached to the woody stem. So there's multiple leaves. So there's three different types of compound leaves that I want you to understand. One is pinnately compound, and so this is leaves having leaflets arranged along a main or mid vein. So you can see the mid vein here, and then each of the leaves are attached, leaflets are attached to that mid vein, and then the woody actual twig would be right here. So this, as you know, would be the node. Okay? So there's two ways we can look at this. There's odd pinnate and there's even pinnate, and that's going to reference the number of leaflets each of those have. And odd pinnate, we will notice that there is a terminal leaf and terminal is just referring to, it's actually leaflet. Terminal is just referring to the end. It can be found on the end, so that's just a term for that. So, first type of compound leaf, again, is pinnately compound. Second type is double, twice, or bi-pinnately compound. I mention all three of these terms because they all mean the same, and different references will use different names to describe this particular type of leaf. So the leaf is divided twice. Each leaflet is subdivided into smaller leaflets. So you can see the node of the branch is right here, and this whole thing is one leaf with multiple pinnate leaflets. Okay, so that is, most of the time I will say bi-pinnately compound. So these really look like there's a lot of foliage there. And our last type of compound leaf is going to be palmately compound. All right, palmately compound, you can see that all of the leaflets are radiating from a central point, and I put a picture of a hand here because it reminds me of the palm. And then these kind of remind me of the fingers, remind me of the leaflets. So whenever you see that type of arrangement, that's what it's referring to. Just look at your hand, you're like, oh yeah, palmately compound. Pretty simple. Third category, leaf margin, sometimes referred to as the edge. There's 5 different types that I would like you to understand. First one is entire. So it's smooth all the way around the entire leaf. There's no jagged edges or anything. So that is our first leaf margin. Serrated or toothed, we're going to see some saw-like teeth on the edge of the leaf. Double serrated or double toothed, this is when we're going to see big teeth and then small teeth in between. So here's kind of our big teeth right here, and then you can see examples of the smaller teeth in between each one of those. So that is doubly toothed. Next one here is incised, or sometimes referred to as toothed and lobed. So this has large incised margins. It has deep irregular teeth. So you can see it's kind of some irregular shapes, and there's different types of incised, but we'll just focus on that particular term today. And then our final one is lobed. I think of earlobes on this one because they're kind of rounded, and you can see the rounded edges right along here. Many of our oak tree species are going to have lobed margins. So those are the three basic categories of tree identification based off of leaves. You had leaf arrangement, alternate opposite world. You had leaf type, simple, which there's one blade per leaf, or you have three different types of compound leaves: pinnately compound, bi-pinnately compound, palmately compound, and then we have our 5 leaf margins here: entire, serrated, doubly serrated, incised, or lobed. Quick overview again. If you just want to make a quick chart to remember these different categories, and that is the basis for leaf or tree identification by leaves. There will be a quiz that follows. Make sure you use your notes for that quiz. If you have any questions, bring those to class.